So everyone, again, thank you so much for being here today at our 26th Annual Immigrants Day at the State House. We're so excited to gather with all of you virtually to lobby for immigrant and refugee rights. We're lobbying for a number of really cool things when it comes to legislation and when it comes to the budget. This is one of MIRA's proudest traditions that we get to do every year, where we bring folks virtually into the building to advocate for themselves. We have a really good speaking program of legislative champions and community leaders, which we're really excited about. The tone we're setting this year is celebrating immigrant wins. We've had a number of really big wins in the past 12 months for community, led by community, that we're really excited to highlight in our speaking program. And then we'll be lobbying in our regional roundtables, which will be really cool. Those are all being led by legislative champions and our member organizations hand in hand. And we're going to have a bunch of really good conversations about our legislative and budget agenda. So I will stop there, and I will now pass it to my boss, Liz, who many of you hopefully have already met, but some of you will be meeting for the first time, who's going to be introducing our keynote speaker. So Liz, take it away.
Thank you so much, Joel. Good morning, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Sweet, and I'm honored to be MIRA's Executive Director. Thank you all for joining us for MIRA's 26th Annual Immigrants Day at the State House. As Joel has already said, today is a day of celebration. We're here today, first and foremost, to celebrate the incredible gains of immigrant communities across Massachusetts. MIRA and our many strong member and partner organizations are seeing the results of decades of organizing work beginning to bear fruit. The speakers this next hour will discuss some critical victories that we celebrate together today. Today is also a day to stand together to name the courage and resilience of immigrant communities. Immigrant communities have struggled and continue to struggle in this difficult year. And yet the Commonwealth's leadership and the public are naming and recognizing the resilience and critical contributions made by immigrants. We will hear today from state leaders, including Senate President Karen Spilka and House Speaker Ronald Mariano, who recognize the essential contributions that immigrants make to Massachusetts. And we will hear from immigrant community leaders who are advocating for your communities, for our communities. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, today is a day to continue to raise the needs and concerns of immigrant communities. Thank you to the hundreds of immigrant and refugee community members and allies who've joined us today to advocate for your priorities. Legislators are here today to listen to all of you. Though we have made so much progress, there is work still to be done, and we look forward to those conversations today and in the coming weeks, months, and years. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Immigrant and refugee community members, immigrant allies, and of course, all of our elected officials who made time to be here today. Now, however, I'm proud to introduce our first speaker. We're thrilled to have a mayor here in Boston who is a daughter of immigrants. Please give a warm welcome to the 54th Mayor of Boston, Michelle Wu.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Liz. Thank you, Joel. Thank you to all of the leaders and activists and friends and community members here today. I am incredibly honored to be here welcoming you to Immigrants Day at the virtual State House. And in this moment, I'm incredibly grateful that we have spaces like this for communities to come together to reflect on the incredible victory and recognition of years of activism that we've seen lately in Massachusetts, and to mark the energy and momentum for where we still need to go. Whether it is in the Great Hall of the State House or here on the Great Zoom Hall, this is a testament and a reminder of our commitment to making our city feel like home for all of our residents, no matter where you've come from, no matter when you arrived. And I'm proud that in the mayor's office here in City Hall, we have a daily reminder. Every time I walk through those doors, I remember the first time I came into this building, how scary and intimidating and foreign it felt as someone who grew up in a family that was very separated from and suspicious of government, connected to a multi-generational immigration story in my family. My parents came to this country from Taiwan. They arrived not speaking English, no connections, nothing in their pockets. And growing up, I saw firsthand what it was like for them to navigate a world full of systems that weren't built for our family. Whenever we left the safety of our home, our roles would suddenly reverse. My parents, my protectors in every way, once we crossed that threshold leaving our home, they would push me out in front to be our family's voice, the interpreter, to navigate the language barriers and cultural barriers, to interact with the many adults who would smile and nod and speak to my parents and our family as if the whole family was children, like we were helpless or inconvenient or didn't belong in the very places that we were seeking to get services and seeking to connect with what our family needed. In my parents' struggle to get access to even the most basic of services, it was seared into me that these gaps, sometimes the biggest gaps, exist in some of the most important places: education, healthcare, housing, public safety. If you weren't born in this country, if you don't speak English fluently, if you don't look like sometimes how folks expect in the systems we're designed around, attempting to access critical supports and services can often feel like more trouble than it's worth. And that affects each and every person in our community and in our society. That's why we're striving today and every day to make Boston a city where we not only ensure that our services are addressing the urgent day-to-day needs of all our residents, but that these services are easily accessible to all of our residents, meeting people, meeting families where they are. Our Office of Immigrant Advancement, under the incredible leadership of Director Yusufi Veli, ensures that our immigrant residents are connected to all that Boston has to offer: resources and training programs, civic engagement, legal services, and most of all, to each other, to our community. City government is a platform. I like to think of it as a mirror to really reflect the voices, the dreams, the struggles, and the power of each and every one of our community members and our communities. Our democracy depends on these voices, and it's held up by our ability to make the needs of our communities heard. That's why this event is so important, and the longevity of it, the consistency and durability and persistence of it is so important. Not only to keep the spotlight on the issues that need addressing, but to celebrate the victories, our communities, and the organizations that have been leading the charge for years, decades, to get us to where we are. I want to thank everyone for getting us this far. And it is an incredible feeling to know that there are families arriving in Boston today who don't have to face the same barriers that my parents and so many of our families faced previously. One huge victory to celebrate is the progress made on driver's licenses. Thank you so much to Speaker Ron Mariano, Chair Aaron Michaelwitz, Chair Bill Strauss, the sponsors, Representatives Tricia Farley-Bouvier, Christine Barber, Senators Brendan Creighton and Adam Gomez, who I saw on this call, for all of your work on this legislation. And thank you to the coalition, Driving Families Forward, 32BJ, Brazilian Workers Center, for mobilizing support relentlessly, fearlessly from all across the community. This affirms that all of our community members should have the right to move freely, to get to work, pursue an education, see a doctor without fear of being stopped for not having a license or an ID. And that improves and increases, boosts all of our safety across every part of the community. I'm also proud to have joined Boston Police Commissioner Long in supporting the Safe Communities Act, which was sponsored by Reps Ruth Balzer and Liz Miranda and Senator Jamie Eldridge. We can only deliver on public safety by building public trust. That's why Boston has led the way in years, many years ago, in passing the Boston Trust Act, revising it to be clear that we are limiting and prohibiting coordination with federal immigration authorities at the city level, and further expanding these protections with an ordinance that we passed last year to be explicit that school safety officers and immigration authorities will not have any connection or information sharing, because most of all, our young people and our families and school communities deserve to know that they are safe, that our schools are focused on education, not deportation or other issues. We also need to do more as a state to prioritize language access, because public services can't be public goods unless they're available to all of our residents. No child should have to bridge the gap between their families and the language barriers that bar them from essential services, because our systems have not kept up and been designed to reach every person. At their best, our systems work because they build connection between government and residents, residents and services, people and power. So language access is fundamental to that work. And again, I'm proud to celebrate the work at the city level through many, many colleagues to make sure that Boston has had a communications access ordinance guaranteeing translation, interpretation, and assistive technology, revised in recent years and even broadened through the leadership of Councilor Julia Mejia and Jennifer Vivar Wong at the Department of Language and Communications Access, and making sure holding up so much within the city of Boston. Finally, I want to thank the legislature for providing funding to support resettlement agencies here in the Commonwealth. $20 million allocated to aid Afghani and Haitian asylum seekers and refugees. The $10 million for the resettlement of Ukrainians fleeing conflict at home, and to see the overwhelming support and love from our communities here to act quickly for those fleeing war in Ukraine. We are proud to be a city that opens its arms to those seeking safety from violence and persecution. And I am so excited and eager for the next steps that are still to come. I want to thank Madam President Karen Spilka as well, and members of the Senate, as I know they are aligned on these priorities and aligned on making sure that the progress we've seen on the House side will move in the Senate. So I've had many, many conversations, grateful for their leadership in ensuring that all of our voices are heard, all of our voices are at the table. It's my hope that Boston and today across the Commonwealth can serve as a model for how we respond to all who come here seeking refuge or opportunity or community. We can't stop at what we're doing today. It's not enough to be a space that's free from harm. We must be a place that feels like a home for everyone. Today, we have an opportunity to live up to that promise to all of our residents, to build community and connection, to uplift all voices and cultures and experiences, and build that shared ownership and belonging. We are proud to be a city of immigrants, and it's on us to also be a city our immigrants can be proud of. So thank you so much for having me here today. An honor to be with you always.
Thank you so much, Mayor Wu. There's so much gratitude coming in the chat for your work and the work of Moya and your office. So round of applause, please, for our mayor, someone who understands the immigrant and the BIPOC experience firsthand. That's the kind of leadership we need. So thank you so much for being with us today. That's a great start. So we are also really honored to be able to present greetings and remarks from the Massachusetts Senate President Karen Spilka and House Speaker Ronald Mariano, who were unfortunately unable to make it in person, but both wanted really to address the Immigrants Day crowd. So we have a couple videos we're going to show you now of their remarks.
Good morning. I'm Massachusetts Senate President Karen Spilka. I'd like to thank MIRA's Policy and Legislative Affairs Director, Amy Grunder, for offering me the chance to speak with you today. MIRA's staff and Board of Directors have done extraordinary work to make sure that immigrants across our Commonwealth get direct and on-the-ground support they need, even during COVID. As a lawmaker, I am particularly appreciative of MIRA's work to ensure that conversations within the legislature over issues affecting immigrants include the voices of immigrants. The fact is, the story of Massachusetts is the story of immigrants. Even those of us who, like myself, are not immigrants have been profoundly shaped by the immigrants with whom we share our communities and who came before us. My grandfather was an immigrant, a refugee who fled the Russian Empire during a time of heightened persecution against Jews. Were it not for his courage and the love he felt for his new community and all that it stood for, I simply would not be here today. Every day, immigrants touch our lives and communities in similar life-changing ways, because immigrants make us stronger, more economically prosperous, more compassionate, and more understanding. Our laws can and should reflect this. For example, I'm so happy that the House of Representatives has passed the Work and Family Mobility Act, which would ensure that immigrants can obtain a driver's license regardless of immigration status. Following conversations with my Senate colleagues, I am looking forward to bringing the Work and Family Mobility Act to the Senate floor so that it can become law. Because individuals and families deserve to feel safe, and driver's license for all qualified state residents is good for our economy and good for public safety. Crucially, at a time when COVID-19 has disproportionately affected immigrant communities, I believe that immigrants are key to achieving an equitable recovery, and they must be included in the conversation on how we shape our future. So thank you for your participation in today's event. Be well and take good care.
Thank you, Daniel. I think we're ready to hear Speaker Ronald Mariano's remarks now.
Thank you for inviting me to speak with you all for this 26th Annual Immigrants Day at the State House. I want to thank everyone at MIRA for the work that you do on behalf of the immigrant community in Massachusetts. Because of your efforts, immigrants and refugees who call the Commonwealth home have access to the necessary resources to thrive and be an essential part of our community. Throughout my time in the House and now as Speaker, we've worked hard to make Massachusetts a welcoming place for immigrants and refugees. We have long understood that immigrants work every day to make our state a better place, that immigrants are essential. We recognize that essential role by prioritizing an inclusive response to the COVID-19 pandemic and by focusing our recovery efforts on those that have been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. The diversity that makes Massachusetts thrive is fueled by our immigrant community, and that diversity should be reflected in our elected bodies. We are proud of our recent redistricting process, which resulted in 13 new House districts, where people of color now make up the majority of voters. This will help to ensure that we continue to make progress on having the legislature more closely reflect the diversity of our communities. The war in Ukraine is the most recent reminder that immigrants don't necessarily arrive on our shores voluntarily, but oftentimes they flee from war and other humanitarian disasters. Even if it was conflict or desperation that forced people from their homes, we welcome immigrants to make a new home here in Massachusetts. That is why the House approved $10 million to bolster our state's immigrant and refugee resettlement programs and provided critical assistance to Afghan and Haitian refugees fleeing humanitarian disasters. Immigrants who make their homes in Massachusetts work here. They contribute to their communities and raise future generations of Americans. That's why I'm particularly proud of the passage of the Work and Family Mobility Act. After decades in the making, we brought this legislation to the House floor and approved it with a 120 to 36 vote. This bill is common sense public policy that would make our roads safer while bringing all Massachusetts drivers under the same licensing standards regardless of their immigration status. It was not only the smart thing to do, but it was the right thing to do. When this becomes law, residents without status will be able to safely get to work, to take their children to school, and to go to the doctor when they're sick. With this vote, the House recognizes their value and dignity throughout decades of advocacy. I want to thank the Brazilian Workers Center and 32BJ for their years of tireless advocacy and for their thoughtful collaboration to get this landmark bill through the House. They started this session with a clear vision of what was needed to get this passed, a veto-proof majority. And they worked with my leadership team and engaged in challenging and thought-provoking conversation with members of the House to get this done. Because of a potential veto, it's important that we move this bill through the legislative process as quickly as possible. I also want to take a minute to recognize Chairman Bill Strauss for his leadership in engrossing himself in this topic and crafting language that prioritized public safety. His command of the legislation and debating skills were very, very critical to our success. I want to thank you all again for having me here today and for the important work being done by everyone at MIRA. The House will continue to work with you to make Massachusetts a place where our immigrant communities can thrive. Again, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. We're super grateful to have the leadership of Senate President Spilka and Speaker Mariano, who are working to make Massachusetts as inclusive and welcoming as possible. We look forward to passing the Work and Family Mobility Act this session as soon as possible and other inclusive legislation in the weeks and months going forward. I would now like to move us along to our next speaker, who is Beth Huang, the Executive Director of the Massachusetts Voter Table, and who was the leader of the Drawing Democracy Coalition that was able to, I think as Speaker Mariano just said, we increased the number of majority BIPOC districts in the State House. We unified Fall River into one congressional district. There's a lot of really great work that was accomplished there through community organizing and working hand in hand with legislators. So I'm going to pass it to Beth now for her remarks.
Fantastic. Good morning, everyone. My name is Beth Huang, and I'm the Executive Director of the Massachusetts Voter Table. We are a proud partner of the MIRA Coalition, and I'm a proud member of the MIRA Board of Directors. The Massachusetts Voter Table is a nonpartisan organization focused on integrating voter engagement with grassroots organizing. And so we are dedicated to building power towards winning a multiracial democracy where people of color, working class people, and immigrants feel truly represented and served in our political system. We are committed to a long-term organizing strategy that advances our vision of a more democratic and equitable society. I have the honor of working with the community leaders, the real deal organizers, the heroes of everyone's neighborhood and community. And in my conversations with so many immigrant leaders over the years, I hear the same story over and over. Elected leaders don't reflect what our communities look like. Our elected leaders don't speak the same language as our elders. They don't respond to our community's needs. Immigrant communities deserve authentic representation. And so that was the driving sentiment behind all of our efforts during last year's redistricting efforts following the 2020 census, which I know so many of you were so critical in getting a complete count in. And the reason why we dug in so hard on redistricting is because how our districts are drawn not only impact who can win office, but who even runs. And so last year we collaborated with over 60 community organizations, including many of yours, also with civil rights lawyers, public policy advocates, data and mapping experts, and political scientists to form the Drawing Democracy Coalition. So what did we do? Together, we aimed to ensure that the state carried out a fair redistricting process that proved not only transparent, but one that the community could remain engaged throughout. I really want to thank Senator Brownsberger and Representative Mike Moran for ensuring many multilingual hearings in which immigrant communities could be heard in the languages that people feel most comfortable expressing themselves in. We strove to ensure that communities of color, low-income communities, and immigrant communities would have their voices heard and interests accounted for. And so we had big shoes to fill. Back in 2011, in the last community-driven redistricting effort, the state doubled the number of majority BIPOC districts in the House from 10 to 20, and created 3 state Senate districts that are majority BIPOC. Importantly, they also created a majority BIPOC congressional seat, which Representative Ayanna Pressley now holds. And so, but thanks to the hard work of many organizations that made up the Drawing Democracy Coalition, in 2021, we were able to make incredible wins for the immigrant communities of Massachusetts. In particular, we increased the number of majority BIPOC state House districts from 20 to 33. And we doubled the number of state Senate districts from 3 to 6. And so whether it be in Boston's immigrant communities or immigrant communities on the South Coast, Metro West, or Merrimack Valley, we helped empower immigrant communities by bolstering their ability to elect officials who truly understand the needs and interests of immigrants. Perhaps our greatest victories came in cities like Chelsea, Framingham, and Lawrence. There, the Drawing Democracy Coalition created brand new incumbent-free districts. That means that there is currently no one who is trying to run for re-election. Those are open seats for members of our communities to fill. This makes it more likely that BIPOC voters may elect candidates of our choice. And so we already have seen many people of color and immigrants launch their campaigns for office in these new districts, highlighting how our efforts together have at least begun the process of creating real change. And achieving this change was not necessarily easy. We spent countless hours on Zooms, looking at maps, talking to community members, understanding the needs and interests of neighborhoods. We met routinely with legislators, testified at hearings, and spread our message throughout. And when we were dissatisfied with initial versions of the state legislature's maps, such as in Brockton and Randolph, we organized, we spoke out, we urged the state to create a more equitable representative map. And because of our unified organizing efforts, the state listened to our voices. And so I want to thank the legislators who have joined, who worked with us and collaborated with us on redistricting. I also want to thank the legislators that joined us on Immigrants Day, especially Senate President Karen Spilka, House Speaker Ron Mariano, Senator Gomez, who represents one of those majority BIPOC districts so authentically, and Representative Gonzalez. All of them supported our effort to make the redistricting process as equitable and representative as possible. And really thanks to all of you who joined us as part of the Drawing Democracy Coalition, who helped achieve immigrant community wins that we're all going to feel for the next 10 years. And 10 years from now, we aim to make our democracy even stronger and more reflective of all of our communities. Thank you so much for your work on this, and we look forward to working with you in the next decade.
Thank you so much, Beth, for all your amazing work. Love getting to work with you every day. And the fact that you're a board member is just a plus. So thank you for your kind words on the amazing work that we were able to do and all the wins that we have from that work. Next, I want to introduce State Senator Adam Gomez, who represents the Senate Hampton District. A little bit about him. He, as a Springfield City Councilor, Senator Gomez actually led the effort to pass the Springfield Trust Act. So he's no stranger to making a town or state welcoming for immigrants. And in his first Senate term, he also co-filed the Work and Family Mobility Act with Senator Crichton. And actually in December helped us secure $8 million in critical assistance for Haitian families. So no stranger to working hand in hand with community and delivering big wins. Senator Gomez, please, we'd love to hear from you now.
Muchísimas gracias. Thank you, Joel. Can you guys hear me? Just wanted to make sure, you know, Zoom is not as friendly as in Western Mass for some folks with the connection. First, I want to start by saying big shout outs and thank you to Mayor Wu. Thank you to my president, Senate President Karen Spilka, and also Speaker Mariano. And also, it's really good to see you, Beth, and thank you for all the hard work that you and your organization has been doing. Good morning. Thank you for inviting me to speak at this MIRA Coalition Immigrants Day at the State House. I'm State Senator Adam Gomez. I represent the Hampton District, which is made up of Springfield, West Springfield, and Chicopee. The work MIRA has done for the countless years on Beacon Hill and beyond is incredible. And I couldn't be more humbled to have been asked to speak at this year's event. This year has been an important one in immigrant advocacy. I myself had the opportunity to work alongside MIRA and my colleagues to get support for Haitian migrants through the American Rescue Plan Act in November of 2021. The House also, that we've heard, passed the Working and Family Mobility Act, which I am happy to co-lead with Senator Crichton. Big shout outs to Brendan in the Senate. Both of these legislative accomplishments underscore the importance of the work that MIRA is doing, while also highlighting the need for more improvements. As an Afro-Latino whose family migrated from the island of Puerto Rico to the mainland and who now represents one of the most diverse constituency in this state, the initiatives discussed today would not be more important. Would be not more important to me. I'm hopeful that the House's enactment of the Working Family Mobility Act and hopefully soon the Senate's as well means that we may see the other important immigrant-focused legislation emerge before this year is out, such as the Safe Communities Act, the Fair Wages for Farm Workers bill, that a bill that I was proud to co-sponsor with Representative Gonzalez, and as well as the Cover All of Our Kids bill and the tuition equity, to just name a few. Another exciting part of this session are the new district maps that were created in the fall. I was humbled to serve on the Senate Committee on Redistricting to provide direct input to hear from BIPOC and immigrant residents throughout the Commonwealth. During the redistricting hearing, these maps and the districts they created point towards opportunities for more BIPOC representation in the House and the Senate, which I'm extraordinarily excited about to see this upcoming year. It is incredibly positive that newly formed districts could serve to elevate more BIPOC voices that reflect the voices of their constituents. So again, I want to thank MIRA. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here today to speak with you all. My first session has been one of the most busiest years of my professional career, but much of that went to advocacy for my immigrant rights. And I look forward to continuing to build on this momentum as the second year of this session progresses And I look forward to my continued partnership with the colleagues and MIRA and all the coalition members. Muchísimas gracias. Pa'lante, siempre pa'lante. Te quiero un montón. Thank you so much. Love you all. And thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with all of you.
Gracias, Senador Gomez. We really appreciate you and your kind words, and you holding down PR, you holding down Western Mass. A lot of love for y'all out there.
Thank you.
And for all of my brothers and sisters out there. Next, we're keeping the trend of the Western Mass homies. We have State Representative Carlos Gonzalez, House Chair of the Joint Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security, representing the 10th Hampden District in the House, longtime champion of immigrant and refugee rights, including safe communities, including the driver's license bill. And as you just said, someone who co-filed the Language Access and Inclusion Act this year with Rep. Madero of East Boston. So Rep. Gonzalez, please take it away. Chairman Gonzalez, you're on mute.
Unmute. Okay, here we go. Good morning, buenos dias. I want to thank you for the kind words and for all those that spoke before me. There's no greater cause in Massachusetts. Thank you to Amy, Kate, and the entire MIRA organization, and all the speakers today, but more importantly, all the advocates who have brought us to where we are today, and for allowing me to be a great part of that. And that's a great opportunity for me, because as a legislator, and you grow up and you see all these issues that you did not understand, but more importantly, never thought that you can play a role in, and seeing is believing. And today, it's so important, as we saw the amount of success that through the advocacy, Massachusetts had been able to champion. It's often said that America is a country of immigrants, and in Massachusetts, it should be said that we are a commonwealth of immigrants. And, I know that you know, but we need to continue to emphasize that immigrants have been a core part of the Massachusetts identity since our founding, and this has been no more true than it is today. Massachusetts, the home of nearly 1.2 million foreign-born citizens. We all know these statistics, but I think it's critical as we discuss these issues and debate these issues, and particularly to those who may not understand or want to make second-class citizens, our immigrant communities, that we are 1.2 million foreign-born citizens, over 1/6 of our population. And in 2019, Massachusetts was the 7th largest state by share of foreign-born citizens in the United States of America. On top of this, 32.3% of our children in Massachusetts have at least one immigrant parents. And that's not only Latino parents. That's from Ireland, Ukraine, Russian, Asian communities, is all over. And in Massachusetts, just as in all of America, we have to recognize that diversity is our strength. Our immigrant communities are also an integral part of our economic success in Massachusetts. We are vibrant. 1/5 of Massachusetts workers are foreign-born, and these households pay $10.6 billion in federal and aid taxes, and $4.5 billion in local and state taxes. So, we are economic engine for Massachusetts and this country. We need to reemphasize that over and over. We know about the legislation that has been championed by MIRA, but recently passed by the House, and also the other legislation like Safe Communities and the ones mentioned before that we are continuing to champion and fight for. Additionally, there are over 71,372 immigrant entrepreneurs. I'm a big champion of micro business community, and I think that that community is continuing to grow. And not only are they becoming business owners, they are employing people from our communities throughout the Massachusetts. 168,790 people that are employed, and they generate $2.3 billion in business income. In support of the immigrant community that are such an important part of the Massachusetts identity, I was proud to speak on the passage of the Work and Mobility Act, which is an important piece of public safety and economic development legislation that will allow undocumented immigrants to be eligible driver of license. And just recently, me and the senator were in Washington, D.C., along with our colleague Orlando Ramos, and met with legislators throughout the country who have passed this legislation in the past, and they have not seen, all the ills that many of those have argued in the past, trying to defeat this effort. So we are excited about that today, as we should, and every day we celebrate all the immigrants and all the contributions to our state and government. This diverse voices are direct contributors to fulfilling the mission and the founders gave us to form a more perfect union. Again, muchas gracias. I mean, Springfield, with all the changes we have, the legislative that cover the most part of Springfield, and look at their names: Gonzalez, Ramos, Gomez, and Williams. That's diversity. That's America. That's Massachusetts. That's one Massachusetts. Thank you to the speaker who championed this issue in the House, and Chairman Michaelwitz, and Chairman Strauss, and also those that are championing on our other branch, the Senate side. Muchas gracias. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak today. Muchas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias a usted, Chairman Gonzalez. Thank you so much for your kind words and all your work inside the building and outside the building to try to pass pro-immigrant legislation throughout the years. Well, let's get driver's licenses over the finish line. On that note, it's my pleasure to now introduce, last but certainly not least, the two amazing co-leads of the incredible and historic campaign to make Massachusetts the 17th state to offer driver's licenses to all. Lenita Reason, Executive Director of the Brazilian Worker Center, and Crystal Murrieta Ruiz, the Political Coordinator at SEIU 32BJ.
Good morning, y'all. Is it okay if we also bring Lenita in so we can be together? We're gonna, yes, there we go.
Bom dia, good morning, everyone. So it's a pleasure to be here with my co-chair, Crystal, talking about the driver's license. Not only talk, but work on it, right, Crystal?
Yes, thank you so much, Anita. As we were introduced by Joel, my name is Crystal Murrieta Ruiz, along with my lovely co-chair, Lenita Reason. Thank y'all so much to MIRA for inviting us to be a part of this space. I am so proud to be here as a daughter of immigrants from Mexico, as well as a person that works for immigrant workers across Massachusetts that clean offices, that clean hospitals, that maintain our airports and do such amazing work to keep our city running. And as y'all have already heard from a few speakers, we are here on behalf of the Driving Family Forward Coalition. And what our coalition does is work towards the passage of the Work and Family Mobility Act, also known as the Driver's License Bill, which is going to enable all qualified state residents to apply for a standard Massachusetts driver's license, and this is regardless of their immigration status. We know that this bill has many benefits, and a crucial one is bolstering public safety. But in addition to this, the passage of the Work and Family Mobility Act is going to allow for more people to be driving on the road that are aware of the rules of the road, that are able to take a driver's exam and become registered and insured. In Massachusetts, about 78% of our state residents that are 16 and older rely on their personal vehicles to get to work. And even in public transit heavy Suffolk County, which includes a lot of the greater Boston area, the number is 48%. Right? And you can only imagine how hard it is for folks outside of the greater Boston area that have more limited access to public transportation. So we understand that for those people that need to drive, whether it's to get to work, to buy groceries, to pick up medicine for their children, or to be seen by a doctor, we must pass the Work and Family Mobility Act this legislative session.
Exactly. And I don't only understand, I lived this. I lived this few years back. So when we first started working on this campaign with under other coalitions' names, so I was one of the many that will be benefit. So about 3 years ago, the first time we filed this, I would be benefit. Today, I will see my fellow immigrants, workers, and family be benefit. I already have my license, but this was a reality that I lived for many, many years. And when you talk about go to the pharmacy, I have been experienced myself and ask my co-workers, my family members, and to go to the pharmacy to pick up my son prescription. So I know what it is. So, and that's why we haven't been fought so hard, and we haven't been meeting like in regular basis, right, Crystal? We almost see each other more than we see our husbands talking about driving license and the work on this. And it's a pleasure to be in an honor to be lead this with you, because it hasn't been decades since many other has fought this, and many is still fighting this. So we have to thank you, all the immigrants families that has put themselves out there and speak about it and fight and ask for this. So and this is, as you said, is going to be benefit everyone, not only the directly impacted, but everyone that lives in Massachusetts. As to talking about economy and some numbers, as 2016, many undocumented immigrants that lived in Massachusetts is almost, you talk about numbers, is almost 190 20 million, 29 millions immigrants in Massachusetts back in 2016. So I don't know the data for today, but you know that these numbers increase. At least 1 of 20 US citizen children lived in a family with one family member that is undocumented. Undocumented immigrant has played essential role in this economy, and we just still live in this pandemic, and we know who was working in the front line, who didn't have any benefits, and they have to work to survive and to take care of their families and take care of others as well. Immigrants has contributed to billions to the state economy and pay taxes, and they haven't paid millions of state and local taxes. Additionally, more residents has been, in addition of this, more residents being allowed to drive, they will be paying for the autos registrations, they will be paying for license. And we can see that we can use New Jersey that passed this law recently, that the numbers is that the insurance company has earned over 200 million in additional premiums. And the state has earned around 12 million in license fees.
Thank you, Lenita, for sharing some of those data points with us. And we can sit here and praise benefit after benefit of this bill all day. And we know that we would not be here having the opportunity to do this, to be able to celebrate this immigrant community win without the support of all of the folks that have been working towards this win for over 20 years now. And this includes and is being led by impacted leaders, immigrant people here in Massachusetts themselves, community organizers, activists, and many organizations. We have over 270 organizations that have pledged their support to the Work and Family Mobility Act, and this includes community and faith-based organizations, businesses, labor unions, public officials, and law enforcement leaders across the state.
Yes, and while the Work and Family Mobility Act is not a law yet, we still have to celebrate today, right? So we are celebrating today the advance of the bill, the work that the immigrants community has put into this, and the belief that we have and the hope, and what we heard earlier today from our elected officials, especially to our Senate president, that she will bring this to the floor And this will become a law soon because we haven't been working so hard. So now we knew that our Senate president always said that she will support this because she knows the importance of this bill. Our speaker said this is a common sense. That is something that we haven't been saying for decades, right? But it's great to hear this from inside out. It's not us bringing it to the House, it's the House. They know inside the House. And we have to thank our speaker, Ronald Mariano, that his leadership, our reps, our leader sponsors, Tricia and Barbara. So they, I should not say Tricia, I should say Rep Tricia Fali Bouvier and Rep Christina Barber. So I'm sorry, I'd be so intimate because we haven't been working so hard together almost like every week. So we got to have this connection, but I know it's our representatives, so we have to thank them. But it's great to hear from our Senate president and her commitment. And this is recording. So people, when they ask us, I'm gonna say, did you went to MIRA's Immigrant Day? Did you hear from our Senate speaker that she will do it? So this is gonna be done soon, and we will continue to fight. We will continue to do our part, but we have that commitment publicly that they will get this done soon. So saying that, I know we have not much time, but I wanna thank you again, all the members of the coalition, all the members of the community that has been work tireless doing this work. And I want to thank the speaker, Ronald Mariano. I want to thank the Senator President Speaker. And I also want to thank our latest sponsors, Representative Fali Bouvier, Christine Barber, Senator Crichton, and Senator Gomes for their leadership in the bill. And we know that it's still a lot of work to do, and we look forward to getting the bill across the finish line. But today we will celebrate the community and the win of the community, and give a big shout out to all of you that has been fighting with us. And I want to say that I'm so proud to be leading this campaign alongside with Crystal. I want to thank our executive team, our legal team that has been working tireless as well. And happy Immigrants Day, y'all. Thank you.
Yes, muchas gracias, mi gente. Si se puede, la lucha continúa. Let's get this done, y'all. We can make it happen this legislative session. Thank you, MIRA, for the time and space to share and be with all of you.
Thank you. Obrigada.
Thank you so much. Gracias, obrigado. We really appreciate that. And like I said in the chat, it's amazing to see a campaign run by two women of color, two people so close to the immigrant experience, as immigrants themselves and the children of immigrants. Like, it feels like an Oscar speech, right? Like, there's so much gratitude for everyone that came before and everyone that's doing the work with us. It's just like nothing but like gratitude, and we're not done yet, but we're close, and we're gonna get this done. We're gonna get over the finish line. So thank you to both of you. I have a lot of love for both of you, and for this wonderful campaign, and the way that we're gonna win is amazing too. So that concludes our speaking program. A round of applause to all the amazing speakers that we had from community, from the legislator side, speaking to all the wonderful immigrant community wins that we've been able to achieve together. We are going to take like a literally 2-minute break as we transition to the regional roundtables. Again, we're going to have 5 regional roundtables for lobbying. There will be 1 for each kind of region of the state. If you are in Greater Boston, you're going to stay here in this Zoom webinar. Don't go anywhere. If you're in the western part of the state, you'll go to a different room. If you're in kind of the Metro West, Central Mass area, you'll go to a different room. We also have 1 for Merrimack Valley and kind of the North Shore, and then 1 for Southeastern Massachusetts. So my colleagues are going to drop the links to that in the chat in a second. And that's where you'll be joining in a couple minutes for the lobbying part of today, which is the second half. We'll probably go up until noon to try to get the most out of our time. And then folks will wrap up. So again, super, super grateful for everybody who spoke today, everybody who was here in attendance. A lot of love for all of you. Everybody, please take a couple minutes to maybe go to the bathroom if you need to, transition to the lobby group, and then we're going to get things done as well. We're going to talk directly to our legislators and see what we can get done together. So again, so much gratitude to everybody who was here. A lot of love for all the speakers and as well as all the participants who were able to join us today. And to our interpreters who made language justice possible. So thank you so much, everybody. Lots of love. See y'all in a couple minutes on the other side.